Okay. This is an interview at Days Inn, Hicksville, New York, the 26th of June, 2003, approximately 10 a.m. The interviewers are Wayne Clark and Mike Russert. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
The full name is David John Pafundi. I was born in 12/24/21. So I'm 81 years old now.
Okay. And where were you born, sir?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, okay. What was your educational background prior to entering service?
It wasn't very good, believe me. I was in a home when I was a boy, and I never got a good education. And when I was 18 years old, I told my mother I'm going to join the Army. She had to come down and sign at the real estate office, right? And so that's what happened. I went in the Army in December. So I turned 19 on December 24th. And
okay. All right. You enlisted then.
Oh yes. Yeah, I was in the regular Army.
Okay. And I noticed you enlisted in 1940.
Yep.
Why did you pick the Army?
Well, a friend of mine that we traveled around the country hitchhiking around and so forth when was a young guy, and he joined the Army, and I said, I'm going to join too. I saw him with his uniform on, and I said, I'm going to join, and I did.
Okay. Where were you inducted?
Over in Fort J, Governor's Island, it's called, in New York. And that's where I had my recruit training. See, we didn't have training like they had later on, basic training and stuff. We had recruit training. I was in the service, immediately assigned to a company and so forth.
What kind of training did you do as a recruit training?
It wasn't, as much as they might have had later on, but just mostly drill marching and handling guns and taking them apart and putting them together while you're blindfolded and all. So it's getting...
Now, being 1940, what kind of guns did you use?
Well, when I went into service, they gave us World War I equipment, World War I helmet, and they gave us a Springfield rifle, bolt action that they had in World War I.
Okay, the 03.
We had it just for a short while, and then the Garands come out. We had the 30-06 Garand rifles.
Okay. So how long was your training?
Well, we was there just a short while at Governor's Island, then we moved up to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, and then we did more outdoor training, training in the woods and so forth like this, And I saw they had cavalry then too with the horses, and I said, "Gee, I want to get in that." And they were just, "No, they're fading it out." So that went. Yep. So that's where I had most of my basic training, Fort Devens. Then we moved down to Carolinas, to have maneuvers down there. We were one of the first. I was in the 1st Division, and we were one of the first to have what do you call it? Sea training, where you made invasions with boats.
Amphibious training.
Amphibious training, yes. So.
Where were you? I know you were in the Army, but where were you, and what was your reaction when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Oh, well, when I joined the Army, we weren't at war at that time, and the British and Germans, I guess, were going at it over there. And when I was up in Fort Devens, I was in the latrine shaving in the morning, and it came on the radio that the Japs had bombed Pearl Harbor. So I said, well, we'll have to take care of them pretty quick, them little runts. But what happened is they were tougher than I thought, more organized and equipped. Yeah, so that's that.
Okay, You receive any other specialized training anywhere else, and where were you assigned?
Let's see. Well, no, I know that. That's in North Africa. I went overseas then. I think right after that, and thank God I didn't go to the Pacific because that was I wouldn't have liked that so much. And we had to go and fight Germans over there. But
Now,
what
when
happened?
did you go overseas?
They shipped me over to North Africa, and I was over there, and not governor, but General Theodore Roosevelt, I think his name was. He was asking for volunteers to join the Rangers because they were running short of men. And so I put my hand up. I wanted to do that. And that's where I got Ranger training in North Africa. We went over to, when we landed there, it was in, let me see, Oran, North Africa.
What was the training like? Was it pretty rigorous?
Yes, oh yes. Yeah, we had to do, I mean, most of the guys that tried to volunteer dropped out. They couldn't take that. You had to run for 10 miles. What we did, you ran and then you walked fast and then you ran more. And that's how you did that march. And then we had some of the commando tactics, you know, throwing people around and so forth. Because Colonel Darby and the Rangers were organized in Achnacarry, Scotland, by the British commandos. Because General, I think Eisenhower wanted us to have a commando outfit too. So this is what it was. It was American commandos, and they called it the Rangers.
Now, were you trained by Americans, or were there British training you? I know.
No, Americans. I was trained by Americans, yeah. So we went through the North African situation. It wasn't too long before we had to make an invasion of Sicily. That was my first combat, and that was rough. The water was severely stormy and rough, and the soldiers on the boat were throwing up all over the place, you know. And they showed us what we had to do. They had photographs of the beaches and stuff like that. And we start going in on an LCI, I think it is. And what happened is these machine guns were shooting at us, and you could see the traces coming overhead, you know. And half of my company drowned. They hit us. The guy driving the boat, a Coast Guardman, wherever he was, he hit a sandbar, and it dropped the front gate, and the guys went off, and they loaded up with equipment and went underwater. And fortunately, we landed pretty good. And we had to go up. It was called Gela, Sicily. It's the name of the town that we landed in. And we had to go up like a gardening effect. They had, you know, until it got to a higher point.
It was all terraced?
Yeah, and that's where the machine gun nest was. It was covered with, I guess, reeds. They had a camouflage. So when we got up there, we were told that we're not going to take any prisoners because we can't do that. We're too small of an outfit and so forth. And we led the whole thing. You know, the infantry came in much later during the day. We went 3 o'clock in the morning on this deal. And when we got to the top, somebody threw a grenade down the stairs going to the machine gun nest, and some Italians started hollering, you know, "Buono, buono," that means good. I didn't know any Italian at that time. And the guy came up, and he was hanging on to all of us were standing around, and hanging on to my bayonet. And the sergeant said, "Okay, men, bump him off." Boom, boom, everybody shot. I don't think I pulled the trigger. I don't know. There was no need for it, really. And that's it. We killed them. Then and daylight came, started to break. And we hear a rumbling coming up the cobblestone road. And we thought it was a tank, but what was it? it was a donkey cart with two old Italians on it. So they got a hold of these guys. They were dressed in army uniforms, I guess. You know, they got them from their own people. And the sergeant called me over because my name is Pafundi, Italian name, and even though I'm Polish, my mother was Polish, and I didn't learn any Italian. We never spoke Italian in my house. And he called me over. He says, "Talk to these guys." I says, "I don't understand Italian." He says, "Okay, and take them around the building and shoot them." There's two of them. So we went with another guy, and we got around the building, and I couldn't shoot that guy. So he was the Italian guy was talking, so he said something like a radio or something like this, and so I went back to the sergeant and I said, they might know where there's a radio station right nearby. He says, so down at the beach, the infantry was all unloading with the big ships down there. And he says, all right, take them down to turn them over to the infantry, which I did. And I said, that was great. Yeah, and then later on, we were there for a while in Sicily. We saw a lot of the Italians surrendering, coming with truckloads of them, one after the other. And there was one down in the plains, like there was one big tank battle going on. And I don't know how that developed. And that was about it for Sicily. Oh, I saw General Patton over there in Sicily. He was talking to the troops, and I was watching from the roadways with some other groups of soldiers, you know. So that was about it for Sicily, and then, of course, the next one was invasion of Italy. And what happened is these soldiers here that landed at Salerno, they really got wiped out pretty good. But us as Rangers, we went further north of them to hold the road for keeping anything coming down from the Germans supplying troops or whatever. And we didn't even have a shot fired. And then we went up to the mountains and stayed up there for a while, quite a while. And so I'm just trying to think. Oh, there was a British officer, naval officer, on the mountain, and he was sitting with us. And we were looking around. He had binoculars. We passed him around, the three of us, like. And down below, and by the road, there was a lot of trucks going into this wooded area. So I told him, I said, that might be an ammunition dump down, I told this British officer. I says, because they were shooting these big artilleries over from the battleships. And when they went over the mountain, they made a terrible bang, you know. So anyway, they shot one down in there, and everything was blowing up. It was an ammunition dump. It's in the book here, too. It tells you that little part, but it doesn't mention me in there with that incident. And that was something else. Then what happened right after that, I guess the Germans got a little teed off with us. They came up the mountain, a couple of scouts or something. And one of our scouts was in front of me because the Germans were shooting mortars up there. So we all laid down, you know, in foxholes and whatever. Well, that, this guy, this scout, he was in front of me, and he stood up like he wanted to see, I guess, through the trees where the Germans were. And pow! And he got a shot, and he got hit in the neck. I guess his helmet was rolling down the hill, like that. And then he got up and he ran back, and his blood coming out of his mouth, you wouldn't believe. So I don't know what happened to him, really. And what we did is move off that point of the mountain to back a little further back. It was like a ridge, the same mountain. And we stood there. And then they said that these combat engineers are coming from the States, are going to take over the situation up there. We was up there about a week or so on that mountain, and we had us officers said we're going to stay over night and show them in the morning where the Germans come up the mountain and so forth, and give them the layout. So the next morning, when you have to have a bowel movement or so, you go down and you look for always a low spot in the ground in case something happens. They start shooting at you, you jump in there. So that's exactly what happened. The big mortar attack came up there from down below the Germans, and I jumped into this hole. No, he jumped into the hole. One of the guys that just came from the States, he jumped in the hole that I was going to get in, and I was laying on a little higher ground behind him. And he was about maybe, 6 feet from me or so, All of a sudden, a mortar shell hit right near us, and the pebbles hit my helmet, clinkety clank, you could hear him. And this guy started hollering, "Mr. Ranger, help me, help me." He got wounded, I didn't. He was in the lower spot, and in his leg, he got shrapnel down there, but he was so scared, he was shook up. And I crawled down by him, and I loosened up his leg, and I thought, there's nothing else I could do, So I told him, "You'll be all right, we'll take care of you." And that was, then we went up to, I went back up to the higher point where the officers were, and I told them about this guy who was down there, and they says, they'll take care of him. And then we had one of our men was, I don't know, they used to call it, what do they call it, when you got all shook up in the war?
Battle fatigue, or
yeah, something like that. But this guy, he wouldn't talk. He just sat there and he wouldn't talk. He just was out of it. And so what happened was we finally got off that mountain, and I'm trying to think of what we did next. This a long time ago.
I think shell shock was the word you were looking for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was probably it. And so it was pretty rough. Then we went to the Battle of Monte Cassino. It was that big church up there in the mountains, and the Germans were buried in there. And so we was on a mountain right next to them. Then it was a valley. Then there was the mountain where the cathedral was. And every once, then they made me a scout. Not that I wanted that job. That's a dangerous job. And of course, you became a corporal at the same time when they made you a scout. That was the rating you got. And as a scout, I went on patrols around by the German lines, behind their lines, and would shoot at them. I didn't see anybody. The officer said, "Shoot, shoot." So we fired guns. And then I came back to my foxhole, and a German patrol came up later, and I see a hand grenade fly. They had the potato mashers, and they were flipping through the air like this. Boom! It landed about 10 foot from my foxhole. So I went down on that and waited, and I waited, and waited. It didn't go off. It was a dud. And, because the Germans had a lot of, what do you call it, prisoners or whatever they were. Slave laborers, and I guess they sabotaged some of their equipment, so thank God. So they must have made a dud out of this one. And that was fine. Then I saw the planes coming overhead. Man, it was like hundreds of bombers coming over to bomb the cathedral because they got the okay to do that. And the Germans still were down in there because they were down deep. And what happened then, they had the Polish troops went up in there, I heard, and they took them out. So, then right after that, I got wounded. And I went to the hospital. I had
where did you get wounded and how?
Right there, see that bullet hole right through there? Mm-hmm. And out here? I don't know if you can see it all right. Mm-hmm. And I had malaria. It used to repeat. I picked it up in Sicily, the malaria. And it would repeat on me like 4 or 5 times that while I was over there. I had I think it was maybe 5 or 6 times that I had the malaria. Yeah, all right. So they shipped me back to the hospital, and I couldn't eat. I had no appetite or anything, and I complained about it and so forth, and they reclassified me to a non-combatant, and then they put me into a petroleum company that was pumping gasoline on the pipeline all the way up to Rome, and it was a pipeline above ground, you know, and every 15 miles I think there was a pumping station. So I was sent to one of them, and I wasn't there too long, and the war was coming to an end, you know, and finally, you know, they got Mussolini and they had him strapped up and so forth, and I was down in the replacement camp. It was a racetrack in Italy. There they made a camp out of it, and I had to wait down there, and I every day would look at the bulletin board to see who was going home. Now I had so many points that it was easy for me to get going, you know. You had to have so many points for combat, so many points. And now I was 2 years in the overseas, you know. I told you I joined in 1940. I got out of there and I got home in 1945. And so that's what happened. I got sent home, and I got discharged at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And
were you discharged before they dropped the atomic bomb on Japan?
Yes. I didn't even know what an atomic bomb was, but I heard it on the radio at home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was out then. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember your reaction when you heard about the death of President Roosevelt?
Well, you know, I felt sad about it, but I was overseas.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the war at that time. And then Harry Truman took over, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a sad situation.
How did you feel about the dropping of the atomic bombs? Did you have any reaction with that?
No, I was very pleased with it because I wanted to see the wars over. You know, it was too much and too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy to see that it was going down.
Did you ever make use of the GI Bill?
I don't know, what do you mean? What does that do for you?
The GI Bill was money the government gave for education or to buy a home or so on?
No, I never had any of that.
Yes, you did.
What?
Did you go to school under the GI Bill?
Oh, yeah, I went to, took up refrigeration, that's it.
Oh,
That's
okay. Yeah.
And with that, I couldn't get a job when I come out with refrigeration because there was hardly any refrigerators around, you know, that were like a modern refrigerator. They were belt drive, old-fashioned stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get a job anywhere. So I went to the employment office, and this guy I was introduced to, he said, "Would you care to be an oil burner serviceman?" And I says, "Yeah." So I got into heating. Then with heating, they went into air conditioning, these companies.
Mm-hmm.
So with my refrigeration experience, some of it I had, that I got into air conditioning. So I did a lot of that in the summer and a lot of heating in the winter. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you ever make use of the 5220 Club?
No.
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 It was like unemployment insurance.
No, I never did that. Never had that.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Yes, I'm with the American Legion, and I've been there for numerous years now. But now that I'm 81 years old and it's hard for me to get around, I don't get there too much, you know. And,
He's a lifetime member of the DAV.
yeah, I'm a lifetime member of the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, and they helped me out a lot. They finally, they helped me to get my disability. 100% I got now, but I just got it in February. all these years, you know. Because when I came home, they classified me as 60% disabled. And then the VA or whatever it was in New York City, they kept cutting me down to 30%. They said, "Oh, you don't have this, you don't have," and I didn't kind of fight it, you know, because I was young and trying to get married and have a family and a household and work, so I didn't bother with it until later years, you know. Then I went to the DAV, which I joined, and they were helping me out to increase my disability by had a lot of doctor examinations, you know. And finally, just recently got up to 100%. So I got to get this tooth fixed. It was pulled out, you know, and I get that, I have that coverage now at the VA hospital in Northport.
Did you stay in contact with anyone that you served with at all?
No, because like in the Rangers, the guys were from all over the country, and I you know, like I said, I joined them in North Africa while we were almost in actual combat. So you didn't get to socialize or go out, you know, to bars and stuff or whatever. No, so I didn't get that close to anybody really. No.
Now, as a member of Darby's Rangers, what type of insignia did you wear on your uniform?
Oh.
Do you have a picture of that? Or?
I don't know. Let me see. It's just, you know, it said Rangers, 1st Ranger Battalion. That's what I was in, the 1st Ranger Battalion.
Okay.
And you wore it on both sides. And that was about it. It ain't in there. It's not in the book.
Okay. Did you want to hold up this picture?
You had sent that to us.
Oh, that's when I was.
On that.
I was 19 years old then.
Do you know what year that was taken and where?
This was taken in 1941. And it was in a photo studio in Hempstead, New York.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Yes. Now, you said you were mentioned in both of those books on Darby's Rangers.
Oh, yeah, I'll show you. Right here, you go. This tells you. This lists all the Rangers that were in here, different battalions. And here, see, here I am. Here.
If you hold it up in front of you, Wayne will be able to focus on it.
Oh.
Let me get a shot of the cover. Okay, and just open the page to where your name is. And
It's right here, and it's marked with a line.
oh, yes. Okay, I got it.
Good. Yeah, that's it. It tells you right here what battalion and everything. You know, when I bought this book in the bookstore, I happened to see Rangers good. And my daughter's the one that found my name in there.
Oh.
I didn't even know that. Well, this is another book, but it has nothing in there about me, personally. We led the way. And we was first with everything. We were the first ones off the boat, the first ones into the attack, and so that was our experience with the Rangers.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you think your military service affected or changed your life?
Well, I don't know. It was just I was just growing up from a teenager to a manhood, you know. So I don't know too much what to say about that, because I liked the Army. That's why I joined it, you know. And I don't know what else to say about that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank
Oh,
you for your interview.
Oh.